Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we're asking the question, will Susie be the next Bachelorette 2023? Can you believe we're already planning for Bachelorette? Hey, it would be filming in a few months if they are going to make it her. Usually that film's what? April, May, then premieres summer, early fall. All right, so we'll get into that. Zach's season starts January 23rd, but very interesting what Susie said on Nick Viall's podcast regarding the fear that Clayton had that the show was trying to poach Susie to be the next Bachelorette. And Susie kind of dodges the question. Now, look, we know this. If you're a finalist on the show The Bachelor, chances are the show's going to talk to you about if you would want to be the Bachelorette. So they're going to talk to the top 2 or 3 finalists. They're going to talk to random other people. They're going to get a dozen or so potentials to see who's even in the running. So I don't think it's crazy to think that the show talked to her, but, would she take it? She doesn't necessarily say no, but she also says she doesn't trust the show. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals if you want to trust me. Come to patreon.com/Dave Neal. Trust me with $5 a month, and I will deliver so much extra content for you. We'll be live around 10:30 this morning. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. So before we get into this story here, I did have a little bit of housekeeping I wanted to get into for you guys. Today's single mom of the day is, I believe her name is Stephanie, and this is her wish list right here. Yeah, it's Stephanie. These toys will go to my son Wayne for Christmas. He's having a hard time with speaking, so I added a bunch of learning tools that will help him with that. So a bunch of gifts from $9 to $11, $12, very affordable. Let's just wipe out our Christmas list today. Let's buy everything today. This is pretty much the end. We might have 1 or 2 more left, but this is pretty much the end of the wish list. If you have other donations you haven't made and want to make, there's a Facebook thread, Dave Neal's Community, where you can see all of the different moms that we featured over there. I also wanted to give an update on my new podcast, Bachelor Rush Hour. We premiered this just like in November, and it's already got 72,000 downloads, which is wild. I want to thank you guys so much. We have a regular audience of about 2,000 people a day, which is amazing for a new podcast. So thank you guys all so much. Thank you to all the new people leaving reviews. Been listening to the show. Love Dave's perspective and humor. Smart, funny, off the rails, insightful, authentic, thoughtful, and balanced. These are just a few words. Thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast. What I've been doing is including a brand new intro to every single episode that wraps up what we talked about that day. I'm recording them in early afternoon West Coast time, so you can get them for end of day every single day. That's why we call it Bachelor Rush Hour. Also, I have a new clip up here on my Instagram. If you want to see some stand-up comedy from my trip to New York City, you can go see that. I pretty much decided I would just trash the comedy club we were performing at. Here's a quick clip.
Right now, what is this? This used to be a perfectly serviceable dive bar. This is the problem with PPP loans. That happens. We got $200,000. Put a f***ing dance club at a Hyatt. What the f*** is this? Anyway, tip the bar. Seriously, this used to be a perfectly place, and they made it. Okay.
So that was actually about 1 a.m. It was a very late night show. We had a couple of you guys in the audience there. Super late New York City show. But of course, hey, who knew we'd be just railing about PPP loans? All right, let's get into it. Is the show positioning Susie for the next Bachelorette? This is a question people are asking. They say, wow, she's been on Viall File. She's been on Bachelor Party. She's going on all these podcasts. She must be being positioned for Bachelorette. Well, Susie is also on a PR blitz visiting Los Angeles. She doesn't live here yet. She still lives in Virginia Beach. So, of course, she did a thing with Zachary Reality. She's got a lot going on. So I don't think by doing a podcast run, it means she's in the running. But what she said on Nick Viall's podcast is interesting, to say the very least. Let's have a listen.
She really swooped in and saved the day for me.
What
Not
happened?
gonna lie.
This is the wrong clip here, so let's go to the 15-minute mark. My apologies. Oh, Dave, how unprofessional of you.
Back when he was going through the season. Guess it's weird, but I'm here for you.
It's weird, but I'm here for you. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And I'm going to give Nick a lot of credit. He's asking good questions.
Susie, when I was chatting with Clayton back when he was going through the season, I remember, and it's before I knew you guys were together. I kind of suspected, but he wasn't telling me spoilers, but simultaneously trying to ask my advice.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a point where he was very panicked that the show had this big conspiracy of making you the Bachelorette.
Oh, yeah.
And he was asking me a lot of questions around that. And if if I thought there was a chance that even though you two were together at that time, if they were going to try to break you guys up so they can make you the Bachelorette. Do you remember that, or what was that experience like?
Yeah, so Clayton, when he had his finalist, my guess, which they never showed, is that the producers told him, hey, Susie wants Bachelorette, because they asked Gabby, they asked Susie, they ask everyone who's a finalist, hey, would you want to be a part of the Bachelorette? And just like Thomas said, well, if this didn't work out, yeah, I would consider it. Like, of course you would consider it if I'm going to get broken up with. You don't think Johnny DiFilippo would do Bachelor? Of course he would.
How did you guys deal with that?
Oh, yeah. That was actually pretty tough. I think that I think he's still convinced that that was the plan.
Wow.
Was for me not to be with him and that I would be the Bachelorette. Like, I think that still lives true.
I mean, I thought you should have been the Bachelorette. I thought you had a very compelling storyline.
Thanks.
I mean, this is nothing against Gabby or Rachel, but I thought, yeah, I would have, it seemed like it would have been my choice at the time leading up. Obviously, the finale
Of course.
was such a big finale that they're,
But by the way, how do you think Clayton feels when Susie and Clayton fight? She said this. Now, of course, she means well, but she said that she basically threatened him by saying, if you can't rise to my level, I'll find somebody else who can. And then in the back, he knows, well, and this is how these relationships just never start off with a lot of trust. In the back of his head, Clayton says, wow, geez, she could find someone else. I know the show's wanted her to be the Bachelorette. She must have that in the back of her head. It's very tough. It's so nice to get into a relationship. I can't tell you the day it happened, but when I got into my relationship and we got to that point where we just knew we were each other's person, that just doesn't happen right away, especially coming off a show. You just realize, okay, we're going to accept each other for all of our flaws. Yeah, maybe I leave the toilet seat up, or maybe she does whatever, tries to pluck my eyebrows without my consent. Why are women trying to pluck our eyebrows? Oh, she'll start looking at me and just start pulling at me. My eyebrows. Yeah, sure, I got a dangly one poking out of my forehead. That's the special antenna. You know what I mean? That's what makes me a power recapper.
It made sense why they had two Bachelorettes, but leading up to that crazy finale, it was to me so obvious that it's got to be Susie.
I don't know. I mean, I think it could have gone to so many different people for sure. It really could have. It depends, how it.
Very nice of you to say.
No, I really think so. It depends how anyone, well, maybe not anyone, but a lot of people.
Yes, they could make anyone, but I just know they weren't going to make.
Well, I think
anyone.
I think
Susie's doing a good job politically pushing away the spotlight from her. But of course, she's top runner. When I saw her the other night, I was like, oh my gosh, this is our next Bachelorette. Because she does radiate. She's got that Jennifer Aniston personality. She goes into a room and completely fills it up with personality. That translates to the audience. That's a big thing. That also is what makes guys go nuts as they compete for her.
Yeah, I think that there certainly could have been. Also, we didn't see everything. So, maybe my story was told in a way that people thought I could, or I would, or I could. But maybe if it had been edited differently, maybe you guys would have felt different too. Because
sure. So Nick and I are in the same mindset right now, where maybe we see Susie for something she doesn't see herself as. But the only way Susie isn't the next Bachelorette is if she doesn't want to be.
I met a lot of the girls, and I would say a strong handful of them would be great candidates for sure. But also, I don't know that it's that much of a blessing.
It's not.
We can make it. I was let's make a YouTube channel or a Patreon. Yeah. I will follow Susie around LA with a camera on your dates. We'll make our own version.
If I could produce my own, I think it'd be so fun. If I had executive control, that'd be great. That would be great. That'd be so fun. Susie does dating.
LA edition.
So did you ever have conversations with anyone about you being the Bachelorette ever?
So anytime that it was brought up, I just pretended I didn't know what people were talking about. Anybody.
I'm talking about, did anyone who worked for the show bring it up to you?
If anybody ever did, I would have just pretended I didn't know what they were talking about. Because nobody ever came to me. Well, I don't think anybody ever came to me and was you should be the Bachelorette.
No, but I'm wondering if someone working for the show ever floated the idea of, or maybe checked in to see how happy you were
of course.
In your relationship with Clayton. in case maybe there was a potential Bachelorette spot available.
So Nick's basically asking if Susie would do what Victoria did with Greg. Not to bring it back. All roses lead back to Rome. Not to bring it back. Oh, we're so good today. We're just nailing it with this coffee. It's the eggnog. I got a little eggnog in my system. We got that rum energy happening. By the way, so he's saying, look, what emotionally, was there another option on the back burner?
I mean, obviously you travel with producers. Like when you're traveling, people definitely checked in with like, I remember having a conversation of like, how do you feel about Clayton? And I was like, oh, he's great. Like from everything that I can see, wonderful. But they're like, no, but how do you really feel? This was like towards hometowns. And I was like, no, I really actually like him. But I also felt like I had no clue who he was. Like I remember when I said I'm falling for you, it was like, and I said this.
So this is while filming still?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like I was like traveling with producers and people were checking in on those things. But like anytime there was anything ever even like hinted or like talked about, I would just pretend like I don't know what anyone's talking about always, pretty much.
But what after you left the show and you two were together?
Oh no. I mean, I was like, I didn't talk.
I'm not calling bullshit on Susie. I respect what she's doing. This is a respect I have, but I'm not buying it.
To like anybody really, because gotcha. I felt like I just totally got bamboozled at the end. I was like, what the hell just happened? And like, I wasn't like I texted one producer. I said, hey, I would love to like have a very honest conversation with you. Like, love your input. And then I actually didn't follow up with that producer because I was like, I don't know who I trust. I don't know if I trust them, Clayton. Like, all I know is like I know myself and like, I'm just going to ease my way through this. I felt like I didn't trust anybody at that point. Like, I just felt like the way everything happened, I was just very much like, it just was very confusing. And
you want to raise a daughter like this to not trust people, especially reality TV shows. Like, she's like, look, you're not my friend. You're not my friend. In the end, the producers, they make their money off of mess and ratings. So if there is a chance to throw Susie under the bus, they will choose self-preservation over Susie's well-being. And we've seen that time in and time again.
And I just wanted to protect myself. So
like a former contestant who's being sued by the Bachelor producers for $500,000. I'm telling you with my eyes. We know who it is, right? You know who I'm talking about? The producers will always throw you under the bus. Think about it. I'm telling you telepathically, right? You know who I'm talking about. $500,000.
No. After the show, nobody ever came to me and was like, oh, this could be yours. No. But I wouldn't have been open to that either. Like I was just...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what's in the dating space? What's next for you? What are characteristics?
All right. So anyway, here's what we know about Susie. She's building her own infrastructure. I mean this with all respect. Great blog. She's a great filmmaker, photographer, videographer, and she's got a blog which helps show off her visual medium, plus already kicking it with the TikToks and all that. Just fantastic work she's doing. She might not need to be the Bachelorette and might not provide her what she needs next in life, but it's a 6-figure paycheck. So we'll have to see what happens in a few months. She gets a little worried, like the influencer money's not as much as it used to be. The economy's in a rough place right now, a really rough place. So I'm sure influencer money's kind of being pulled away. 4 tips for self-love. Visualize, date yourself, protect your peace, look for the value within who you are rather than what you look like on the outside. Very fascinating stuff. SusieWasLike.com is where you can go to check that vlog out, to check that blog out. If you want to check vlogs out, I've got all of my Vlogmas vlogs on my wife's YouTube channel, Tasha Courtney. You can just search Dave Neal Christmas Vlogs or Tasha Courtney Vlogs, and you'll find it over there. More content coming your way, including Bachelor Rush Hour this afternoon, and I'll be live on the Patreon at 10 a.m. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. We'll talk to you in a bit. Bye, guys.